Hey guys, it's Mathel here once again, and I bring some good news since the last video. The build turned out pretty well. Basically, it just takes a bit of persistence sometimes, and a bit of fine-tuning, bit of refining, bit of respecking, figuring it out, and you can sometimes make a build that you didn't think was particularly good into something pretty damn nice. And that's basically what ended up happening here. I did hit level 93, and last couple of levels were basically just smooth, clear, deathless farm, and did all the bosses deathless, all the Conquerors, Guardians, Awakener level 8, all of that shit, and ended up being a pretty solid, well-rounded character in the end, though still as poison and bows and stuff, it's kind of going to be squishy to plenty of stuff since I've got like 6.5k life, but if you're not careful and you fuck up, well, you're going to die to stuff. But once you get the hang of a character, once you fine-tune it, you should be okay with this thing because it's got a pretty nice playstyle. It can be pretty defensive, and it depends on the boss, but plenty of ramp can get you going into huge amounts of damage, and it took out my second Uber Elder of the league. Not going to show a full video because we've seen Uber Elder 100,000 times at this point, and it's just a bit more health nowadays, so it is a little tougher, but it has been a pretty good build in the end. Lightning Arrow with Awakened Fork, GMP, combined with the Impulsor and Ellie Prolif has just been absolute sex for clear, as you can see in some of these Delve showcases. Been running plenty of influenced maps with the Conqueror influence, and it just shreds all of that, shreds Beyond. Devil Beyond gets a bit tougher because you're spawning non-stop bosses and you will occasionally have to Galvanic arrow shit, but for the most part the build has just been a clear speed monster, and you don't have to do it in a poison capacity. Just about anything, Lightning Arrow with, I'd say, Chain, Fork, Pierce, anything like that, and then some explosions is going to absolutely annihilate at the moment. It just kind of feels like Lightning Arrow is going to be one of the best clear or bow skills for the league, I'd say. So I'd look into that in some capacity. It doesn't have to be poison or Voltaxic, but I am surprised with how well the Voltaxic ended up scaling for damage. Possibly it'll do better with something else, but that doesn't matter. Haven't even explored that. Voltaxic is what's doing plenty of the work here, and it did end up getting us several millions of DPS, God knows how much, because it's pretty much impossible to tell how many poisons you're going to be keeping up on a target. And I doubt we're still making full use of the Voltaxic for shock purposes. For clearing trash, we're probably shocking things at colossal amounts, but for single target, I doubt I'm really shocking anything for too much. And there were a few refinements in the build in the end, a bit of a respec to get a lot more life while maintaining a similar amount of damage. I did put in a despair on hit ring. There was quite a few refinements, and I went from 88 to 89 with plenty of deaths, and it took me like several hours, and then I went 91 to 93 in about the same time. It took me like 3 hours to get those levels in while doing plenty of bosses and basically never dying. So it takes a bit of work sometimes to refine a character to get it to the stage you're happy with, and it's not always worth just throwing it away immediately before actually exploring it to its full capacity. You can see there's plenty of stuff going on when you have to fight bosses, though. You do have to place your wither totems quite strategically. You're going to have to press Withering Step to wither things instantly at times. It's basically used for burst, and then we're using Flame Dash a lot of the time for our travel, as well as Blink Arrow. You do have Galvanic Arrow as your single target. You've got to press your focus for your single target. There's a lot to press in this build ultimately, and it's going to be a little bit finicky at first, I'd say, but once you get the hang of it, it should kind of make sense, because something like Withering Step is not really used for the elusive or for the running faster. It's basically used as a debuff to just quickly get a whole bunch of withering on enemies, and you kind of get a little bit used to setting that up, especially for metamorphs. And the large packs that they're going to spawn. You can see still you can definitely come close to dying to plenty of metamorphs, especially on tough map mods and all that. But once you get your ramp going, for the most part, you can kind of just walk away and they should blow up. I do want to go over what I've changed for the build because it does look a little bit different now before I show you the Awakener level 8 kill. So we come back to the character at level 93 and a half. Could go for 94, but I don't think we'll do that. We'll start something fresh probably pretty soon. But nothing's really changed in gear, I don't think, except for just the one ring, which I bought, which has a pile event, a little bit of resist, a bit of life, and despair on hit. These types of rings, the level 5 despair on hit, comes from Chaos Delve nodes, but you can just buy them pretty cheap all over the place. Otherwise, you can craft it on one of the influenced items, but it's just pretty easy to buy a really cheap despair on hit ring instead. And I needed int, so I did that and put quality for attributes there and quality for attributes there as well. So that helps fill out the int. Other than that, I don't think anything's changed in the build. Except for putting in a flame dash basically, and then I've experimented with using Innovate instead of Ellie Prolif for my clear. Ultimately, Ellie Prolif feels a lot better, so if you can get a 6th link, then chuck in an Innovate or something else, but I think Ellie Prolif does make sense for our 5 link, and aside from that, we're still just using level 1s. I finally got a level 2 of the Unbound Ailments, so nothing's really changed there. The main thing that's changed is I have done a bit of a respec and gotten myself a lot more life. So I've cut out plenty of things down here and refined some of the things around here. And we didn't really do that anymore. So you do have to make sure you can maintain your int. And instead we've traveled through here, grabbed another resist node over here, got a bit of resist on a jewel, still got a jewel up here, and then grabbed some flask nodes to make flask sustain so much easier, as well as life flask sustain, and then a pile of life. Now, you can get some mana gain on hit on a jewel to help sustain mana, but besides that, we do have a mana leech over here, and our life leech is mostly taken care of by the Atziri's Promise. So with that bit of a respec and just like adjusting my playstyle a bit, I think it just ended up being a lot more survivable, a lot more pleasant to take hits at this amount of life, and ultimately just seems like a nicer character because you can go up, face tank a lot more, and get your poison stacks going before having to back out and not necessarily die while doing that. So that's currently what the tree looks like. That's the anoint that I went with, but I don't think it's necessarily the only one you can do. There's a few others, maybe a bit more defensive on the tree too, and that's what the tree ends up looking like. For the Assassin Voltaxic character, I don't think there's really anything else to mention in the end, because that's all I did, and that was the only real change since the last video. But it ended up working really nicely. Like, it still levels amazingly up until 80, whatever, but you start to take big hits in the end game unless you do build a lot more for the life and min-max for your damage as well. So trying to get damage in as many places as you can is going to get you so much further in surviving, because you'll kill things a lot quicker, but you gotta make sure you min-max everything across the board before you actually truly start to feel like you're getting lots of ramp and enjoying a nice poison playstyle. And I guess lastly I'll mention what my MTX are. It's just the default Silken Hood, so there's no MTX on my hat there except for the bandana. Judicator armor, Judicator, Ivory Arc Courage, white weapon, white character effect, and that's about it. So I'll leave you guys with the Awakener level 8 kill. This one can kind of be used as a tutorial because it went just about as good as possible. I think I took damage from like one thing, but for the most part, I think I got the fight pretty dialed in, and you can kind of learn a bit from that if you need to. But that was the character. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. All right. Oh, Jesus. Fuck, shit, fuck. Don't touch me.
Once this a real challenge, you've finally caught my attention. Die.
You probably don't need to use flasks at all for a while, huh? Where is it? Okay. Okay. How did he know? think we just chill until he like walks over a bit. Okay. Okay. I'm never ready for that one.
The others found strength.
Like, I forget it does so much so far. Can I space out a bit? It's not gonna press a single fucking flask until I need to. There's no rush, I guess.
Be silent.
100% flask sustenance. I'm like a pathfinder, except I don't get any of the benefit of my flasks since I don't press them. Skill. What the fuck? My god, that thing is hard to see. I get hit by that like on every fucking run I do, at least one time. Just because I do not see it well enough. Man, I was going the take no damage run, and it almost worked. I almost took 0 damage that entire run so far. I don't think I... No, wait, I definitely can't keep it up in the last phase. I take so much damage in the last phase. Like, it's absurd how much damage I'm about to take. I'll try and burn him down with my flasks and shit. Which will help. Am I allowed to go back in yet? I feel like he's gonna do a big attack. Like, I'm terrified of the stars attack. There it is. No, dude. You know how much my ass would clench if I had to do, like, play it like this on hardcore?
Non-existence. I have seen beyond. Everlasting fire.
Is this Deep's? I feel like this is Deep's time. I waited my turn.
Non-existence. Silent. There's only
Fuck.
everlasting.
Oh man! That's it? That's all I get?
Cirrus, this was all my fault.